Thank you for clicking on our video. This is Taking on the Thames. So we are back, and it's coming close to Halloween, I tell you. And after the last trip, you would have thought it had come early, because we blanked for the very first time in this season, and we had torrential rain and wind that night. And now the wind is still blowing strong, and it's been raining all week. But today we've got a break in the rain, but unfortunately the river is flowing pretty rough again today. It's still quite high. Yesterday it didn't rain as much, but we did have a little bit of drizzle. But the river's just steaming through here again, hence why, of course, we're back down in our favourite spot, because we've got this nice bay area here that will be nice and easy on the feeder. We're going to be changing up the tactics today, because after the last few episodes, I mean, you could blame the weather for the blank in the last episode, but even the episode previous to that, we weren't getting a lot on the feeder rod, apart from a pike, which was weird. But I've really scaled everything back now. I've come off the size 12 hooks down to a tiny size 16 hook. I'm using a really small feeder as well. So we're going to be feeding as minimal amount as possible today, to try and hope that everything that we do get is going to be tempted more in our hook bait than all the feed that's around it. No ground bait today whatsoever. Hooked on the chair already. No ground bait whatsoever, so we're going to purely be relying on just this maggot feeder. If things pick up a little bit later, then I'll start being tempted to maybe flick some more maggots out with the catapult. But I think the first thing is going to be to just try and get these fish to start feeding, because they just don't seem to be interested in it at the moment. And with the river running high and fast, who knows, today again might be a tough old day. Also only using red maggots today. Usually I like to use red and white maggots, but with the water being cloudy, I hear that red maggots tend to work the best, so we're going to be focusing down on red maggots. On the big boy rod, we're going to be focusing on the pike today, and I've switched over the positions that I usually do this. So the pike rod is going to be more sort of on the tree that's on the right hand side of me, and I'm going to be using the feeder that's more in the open area of the swim, just in hope that there's a pike going to eventually come and chill out under this tree, which is where we had that small pike last time on the maggots anyway. If it's dire straits on literally both rods, maybe I'll swap them round, who knows. But enough talking, because we ain't going to catch no fish until we get this out there, eh? So I'm going to try double maggot straight away. Like I said, only reds today. I'm probably going to regret that choice, and if we don't catch anything today, then I'll blame it on that. We'll get this out there, and then I'll sort out this big boy rod. I've got some dead roach for that. We'll flick that out there, quite nice and smelly. So, but I mean, going on the last time that we was in this spot, at least when the river was flowing quite high, we had the pike rod out then and we didn't have much luck on it. So I think unless there's a pike already down, and you can probably hear the wind, like I said, is still up. But unless there's a pike already kind of chilling out down there, we might not be successful on that today. But who knows, with a bit of luck it might chill out a little bit later on, and maybe then the pike will get on the move. It's so windy that today I'm going to be doing a bit more of a match style with the feeder rod. I'm not going to have it pointing towards the sky, because it's just going to be waving around all over the place. Along with the smaller hooks and the smaller feeder, we've also dropped down in the diameter of the hook link. So we're on 3.5 pound hook link there. I think it's a 0.14 diameter, which really is as low as I dare go, just in case we do end up smashing into a bigger perch or something, you know what I mean? It's going to be a bit of a struggle, but can't say we aren't trying today. We're really, like I said, smalling everything down, really making everything nice and tiny and as invisible as possible, with a little amount of feed as possible as well, to just try and nick whatever fish that we can, to be honest with you. Especially after the last episode when we blanked, but you know, I expected it at some point that it was going to happen, and it happened in the last episode. I've got my usual pike trace here with my little bit of fluorocarbon just to be able to break off in case we knock into a pike and get it to any snags. I like to have that weak point there, so because I'm using basically a lead core leader as well, because it's so snaggy in the Thames, you want something that's going to be up to it in case you do get snagged up. But at the same time, if you do get so snagged up that you end up losing your rig, you don't want it dragging this whole hook link and the lead core leader around with it as well. So just having that little bit of fluorocarbon in between gives you a weak point, so that'll break off if you get it caught in any snags. I've got a dead roach here, so hopefully that will stay on. If we manage to catch any silvers, I might be tempted to keep one back, but to be honest with you, I think it's going to be a one chance thing if we get a pike today anyway, going on the last time the river was in this condition in this area. But again, just hooking it in the tail, and that is it, because the idea for that is for it to gulp it down, and then we can wind down to it and hopefully hook him in the scissors. Quite a big roach, to be honest, so let's hope that that translates into a bigger pike. Not going crazy with this again, just flicking it out there. It's just gonna have to set this alarm up. Got that alarm on quite a low sensitivity today because it's a Dalcom alarm and it works on vibration rather than that magnetic wheel spinning round. With the amount of wind that's going today, that would just be getting tripped off constantly, so ideally it's going to have to be a pretty significant take. It hasn't got to go like screaming off, but it's going to need some definite movement down there for it to give me a good trickle of beeps. We're not having much luck on the feeder yet, not even any twitches, but I'm kind of expecting that today, really, to be honest with you. Although saying that, they have been sucked, so I must have missed that bite while I was messing about with the pike rod there. So that's a pretty good sign that we've had at least a bite on this already. Who knows what we'll get on this. I might even, so much as right now, just stick to one maggot. That's meat. Like I said, very small feeders, so I am probably gonna just add a pinch of maggots in this every chuck, because it's probably going on the size of the feeders we usually use. We would probably have to chuck that out about 8 times before we'd put the amount of maggots down on the deck as we would with one chuck with the other feeder, do you know what I mean? In other words, the other feeders are about 8 times more capacity than them ones. You know, I expected it to drop off eventually when the weather started getting a little bit cooler, but it's not like we're in midwinter yet. Clocks still haven't gone back. It's a little bit concerning, but at the same time, you know, if these tactics work and we get a few more bites and a few more fish than we have done before, then hopefully that puts us in good stead for the rest of the winter. Even with this rod as low down as it is, it's still bouncing away a good one in the wind. One of the other reasons why I've got the rod lower down today is because I'm using I'm using a completely different rod altogether, both rods. I've sort of scaled them down as well as the baits and tactics. So right now the pike rod, we've got a 9 foot, 3 pound test curve scope on there. Still using our Shimano 10,000 bait runner on there. We're not throwing it massive distance, so we don't need to have a big pit reel or anything silly like that on there. And the feeder rod, we're using a 9 foot again. It's a Maver Evo reality rod. We're using the lightest tip on that today, which is, again, like I said, one of the other reasons why I've got it low down to the water rather than up in the air. I want that little bit of extra sensitivity to be able to pick up these bites, because we was always getting small twitchy bites on the other rod. But we had to have a slightly thicker tip on that because we was fishing with such big maggot feeders on there. Rodney. There you go, buddy. Knock yourself out, mate, because the fish don't seem to want them at the minute. Oh, you found one down there, well done. He's literally going to land on the camera in a minute. He's right there, look. Buddy, what you doing? Thief. You want this? Look, here you go. Oh, it's a dead one. You don't want that, do you? You want the nice, fat, wiggly ones. Yes. Let me move that catapult out of your way. You don't need getting all caught and tangled up in that, do we? You ever going to be brave enough to take it out of my hand? Come on, look. Come on. You filled up already? Huh? There you go. He does well being able to fly around in this weather. He's only tiny, bless him. Right, enough of that. He does distract me, I must say, old wadders. Let's flick this back out. Just going to give it a couple of turns of the reel just so it straightens out the hook link. What I want to do really is make sure that I have got a slight, oh, there's a twitch, and again, like I say, see that twitch come straight off of the feeder going in the water. So by being slightly active with it, brought in a twitch there. We might actually have something here. We have. Look at that. What have we got here then? Very small chub. Hey now. Look at the size of that. Tiny, tiny, tiny little chub. And that weren't even enough to twitch the end of my rod, so these little juveniles are still hanging about round here. Let's throw them back. Okay, first fish, we haven't blanked. Thank God. Right, we're going home now, see you later. Of course we ain't. This could be the start of good things to come. But I think that's going to be the kind of stature of fish we're going to get, which would explain, of course, why we blanked in the past couple of episodes. Well, not past couple, but we blanked in the last one, and we didn't get much in the episode before that. If the fish are that small, I need more line here. Give me more line. I'm all getting all caught up because I'm getting all excited. Got that maggot in my mouth. Might actually leave one for now, just to see if that does anything. Another little pinch in the feeder. Again, I am just kind of casting it out a lot further than it needs to be, and then reeling into the swim. There's not many holes in them feeders, so the maggots don't fall out immediately. So you've got time to reel back a little bit. It's just one of them things that if you was catching them all day long, like one after another, one after another, one after another, if you was match fishing and you was building up a bag, it wouldn't be too bad. But ideally you'd want something a bit bigger than that, or more of the same kind of fish, you know what I mean? Being a chub, usually they do go round in groups. They can't really get much smaller than that. I just thought that by now we wouldn't be getting quite as harassed by the tiny stuff. But maybe these are the tactics that we've needed to adopt to be able to be a bit more successful on some roach. So it'd be interesting to see if we get any roach today. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. We've only had one tiny chub. Might go completely dead now. You really are taking the mickey, ain't you? You're literally just sitting there now waiting for me. Yeah, we have. Look, here we go. It's the one I caught earlier, isn't it? So copy and paste by the looks of it, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure this is exactly the same fish that we caught earlier. And this is a good job as to why we've shrunk everything down, because if this is the only thing that's interested at the moment, then I mean, if we had our size 12s on with our 7.5 pound line, it would sure spook the tiny little fish like this. But maybe some little, you know, having a shoal of these around in the swim might bring the pike in a little bit later. So no wasting time, let's chuck this guy back. Away you go, Mr. Pike Bait. Again, didn't even so much as feel a wiggle on the end of this rod with that. But that's two, only one more and we will beat the amount of fish that we had previously in this swim. We've certainly already beaten the amount that we had in the last episode at least. It feels like forever ago since I've had, you know, 4 or 5 fish out in a day. The clocks haven't even gone back yet and I'm already wishing it was summer. Just tickle that back a little smidge. I like chub a lot. Really do wish that they were bigger than that. I'd like to just be able to feel something on the end of here. Oh, I can feel something pull back. I might even need to net this. I might not take any risks. I am going to need to net it, and it is a perch. Oh, and that was lucky, because that just pinged off. Did it take the hook? It did take the hook. I've got to be so careful. But luckily I netted it. Now that, I tell you, that's cheered me up no end, mate. Honest to God, it's not the biggest perch in the world, and he ain't the smallest either, so that is an excellent sign to finally get a perch back on the bank and to actually feel something on the end of the rod. I can't seem to find my hook anywhere. It must have fallen out in the net or something, but I'm going to have to be so careful with these hook links because it's literally snapped off just on this little guy, and probably because it's quite abrasive inside the mouth of a perch. But what a welcome gift that is from old Father Thames. Let's waste no time and we're slipping back. What an absolute beaut. So long, fella. Fladump. Right, and now I've got to tie yet another hook. But what do? Do I keep this line on? I think I will for now, just because we're getting so many bites and I don't want to jinx it, you know. But if it keeps on happening, I might have to consider swapping it over. So, my mistake. He didn't actually snap the hook link. He just spat the hook, so that was more than lucky that I managed to scoop the net under him just as that happened, because that would have gone from being a happy chappy to probably me throwing a temper. That is, I know to some of you, you're probably watching that, seeing the size of that and thinking, yeah, it's not bad, but it's nothing to write home about. But I'll tell you what, when you had, last time we was in this spot, we had a small chub like we've had today, and that was it. And then we had a pike crazily on this feeder rod. Not this feeder rod, but the other feeder rod we was using, but you know, using the feeder method. And we have had no perch for a long time. Certainly feels like a long time. So to have one like that has made me feel very happy indeed. A gudgeon. Hey. So, what's this? Fish number 4. A wee little gudgeon. Now these have been quite sparse for me this year. I've only really hooked these under the cover of darkness. But for the micro species, this is on the top of the list for me, I tell you. When you're talking about, you know, bleak and minnows and things like this, things like that rather. The gudgeon 100% is number 1. In the sunlight, you see so many colours on these, purples and blues. But obviously as the sun's gone down, it is now, he's just got this dappled silver look about him. But he is just a barbel in miniature. Let's waste no more time and we'll slip this little magical creature back. Oh, it's all looking up now, isn't it, eh? Decent perch. Gudgeon. We won't mention them chub. Yeah, I'll tell you what would be nice now, if we could get a roach. I've had an half decent roach out of this area before. Avid viewers of the show will no doubt remember that. But the numbers have just been so low. Smash. You know, a little bit like everything else really, I suppose, but the roach numbers have been incredibly low. I think in this swim I've had an equal number of hybrids than I have roach, rather. Which is kind of weird because they've been bream roach hybrids and I haven't had any bream. Which some anglers would be grateful about, but but when you're trying to catch as many different species and as many fish as you can, no matter what they are, it would be nice to have a couple of skimmers at least. A couple of twitches there and again, and oh, that felt like a nicer fish, but it's come off. Could have been a perch again. I'm thinking that maybe I do just need to be a bit more patient with the bites. Good signs again though. Let's just slide these off. Oh yes. One can see. It's just been nice to get consistent bites, to be honest with you. Oh, and another gudgeon. That ain't what we hooked last time, that's for sure. Easy now, Tiger, you slippery sod. Lassoed himself. No point showing you this one close up because I think it's the same one anyway, to be perfectly honest with you. Gudgeon number 2. First time to get double gudgeon in one session. Things definitely are looking up. Is this pike rod going to do anything? That is the question. Still got probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour's worth of light left. I've only put one maggot on the hook because I'm getting overexcited, but we'll stick another one on before we chuck it out. And feeling that perch pull back before we had that gudgeon, well, it might not have been a perch, but feeling something pull back again was nice. Gets my hopes up a lot. Too much to the point where I'm struggling to put bait on through excitement. Okay, I wouldn't go that far, but it's certainly looking up. I was getting worried, I will be perfectly honest with you. Not so much in the last episode because, you know, we was out in the middle of a storm and we was out on the main stretch, which hasn't been as successful as this stretch anyway, to be honest with you. But the last episode, even the one before that, I think we had like 4 fish out. But the one after that, when we only had that tiny chub and that pike on the maggots, I was really starting to get worried that this was going to be the story all the way through the winter and autumn. But maybe just this change in tactics is really what we needed to do. Yeah, we're getting gudgeon, yeah, we're getting tiny little chub, but we also had that semi-nice perch. Just means that we're getting a few extra bonus fish on the bank. So what are we on for? Like I said, I'd be really happy with 6, no matter how big they are. So I will be counting them gudgeon. No, I've had 5, haven't I? 2 gudgeon, 2 chub, and a perch. Even better. If the 6th one was a 25-pound pike, Jesus, that would be nice, wouldn't it? I feel like I can start getting greedy now. I'll tell you what, another perch just a bit bigger than the last one would be nice. It felt like that thing that jumped the hook was alright. It felt the same kind of pullback as that perch. Part on the drop there, I think we've got something. I don't know what it is. It's nothing massive. Oh, have a word, mate. We're on the gudgeons, and that's a beast. A head on him, like a bulldog. Look at it, proper old wide head. 3rd gudgeon of the day. You can't really get much better than that, can you? We've got to ask for more than that, surely. We will though. A big perch, please. So, number 6. We got our 6th fish. Can we get double figures? Or are we pushing our luck? We'll soon find out. Another couple of maggots on the go. That one's dead. We don't want to use that one. Yoink. Triple gudgeon. How about that? Not really testing the rod out, but even so, it could be bleak, you know what I mean? That could be even worse. Rodney. Little sod. Or we've got something silly on here again. I think we have. Yes, we have. Oh, here we go. Is this... Oh no, I thought for a minute there while the sun was bouncing off of it that we had a roach, but it's not. It's just a slightly bigger chub. About 3 times bigger than the one that we had earlier. He can slip back. That's weird though, because even with them gudgeons, I could see that I had a bite at least. That, like I was saying, it feels like it had died off. It didn't feel like I was getting any twitches or anything on there. Maybe I just hooked him. Mind you, the maggots are sucked a bit. I was going to say maybe I hooked him as I was reeling it in, but... So 3 chub now, triple chub, triple gudgeon, single perch. Can we get triple perch? Definitely getting towards the witchy hour now. What will a couple of hours under darkness bring? Eels. Dun dun dun. Been lucky there, I tell you. We haven't had no eels yet this year. I just Danny like 'em, mate. They put up a really good fight, but it's just the fact that they destroy absolutely everything you own when you get them out on the bank. They're so kamikaze and all. They wrap up in the line, tie themselves in a knot. They're literally as slippery as an eel. And got their beady little faces that look at you. That was a much better bite, but I should have been more patient with that, I think. It's a good solid bend round there. Wonder what that was. He hasn't burgled me either. What are they like? Yeah, not sucked like you would get from something tiny as it continuously pecks at it. That's 2 solid maggots still on there. So that's something that just picked it up and went for it. So I will continue to fish this feeder rod with this kind of setup, I think, going from here forward as we step into autumn and winter. The bigger feeders and the heavier hook links and the bigger hooks just seem to kill the whole thing off altogether. And we're not even just talking about this swimmer, we were talking about, you know, the main stretch as well. Although, like I said earlier, that the main stretch doesn't produce fish as well as this swim does. The amount of bites that we was getting in the last episode, we had a couple when the rain did die off, you know, when we had a couple of slight breaks in the rain, we would get the odd bite, but it was nothing like what we would get in the summer months. But although this has been a little bit slow, to start with it was a little bit slow. But now, I mean, it's probably going about the same pace as I was getting in the summer. Very, very, very small little knocks on there now. I think we're into something. What have we got here? Oh, it's a little perch. Open up, boy. What? Not really much point trying to zoom in on that, but a tiny, tiny little Percy. So, yes, as I was saying, I will be keeping to this method as of now. Now, I said, didn't I, we have had what? Triple chub, triple gudgeon. Can we get triple perch? We'll see. And tell you what, if this wind just died down a little bit more, it would probably be a quite pleasant evening to sit out here. The temperature isn't exactly freezing. It's just that wind's got a bit of a chill to it. Well, lights are on. and I'm into a fish, and this is something that we've had previously out of this spot, but something that we don't often catch, I'll tell you that much. I wonder how many of you guys have caught one of these recently. It's a rough. And these guys, if you didn't see in the previous episode, hopefully I don't drop him, are like a cross between a perch and a gudgeon, and it's landed on the mat, luckily. A cool little fish that I only ever seem to catch at night. I don't know how well it's coming across on the camera, but his eyes are illuminating so well under the actual light of the head torch. He looks like a ghost. Let me chuck him back. A little rough. How cool is that? Literally, like I said, just sorted the lights out and slapped my coat on because it was starting to get a bit chilly. And I weren't even fishing really, the rod was just sitting down there. I didn't even realise I had any maggots on there, to be honest with you. They're actually still perfectly fine. Come here, Fedor. So, I mean, can we class that as a perch? Is that triple perch, triple chub, triple gudgeon? Let's slap this back out there and crack on with what we were doing. Of course, the trouble I've got now is it's a little bit difficult to actually see where I'm chucking it. I just need to okay, I'll just about see that. What I'm gonna see if I've got a starlight adapter that will fit on the end of here. Stick that back up there a little bit. Yoink. Could probably do with changing the line on this reel actually. It's a bit on the curly side. Starting to look like a Slash from Guns N' Roses. Right, what am I doing here? Starlights. Starlights I have. Adapter to fit in this rod, we will see. A nice big fat SL1. But this is really slim, this rod, so I think I'm going to need a pretty small adapter for this. Would you work? Oh, you might be too slim. Oh, you might be just right. You are just right. Make sure it's nice and straight. Get the old rubber out here. Stick them ones back so we don't lose them. Get rid of that dead one. Break out a nice fresh one. And that could be closed. Like we're back in the 90s. You sit on there. use it in there. Superb. What's our maggot situation like? Actually, they look alright. And to be fair, is there a few in there? No, we will stick a couple more in there. Come on now. Let's have some nighttime beast. Let's have a beast from the darkness. The thing is, these twitches are so small. That was a little bit better. They might actually be in here. I'm not totally convinced though. Oh no, we are. And it's another gudgeon. 4 of the big G's. What I was about to say was the twitches are so small, it's almost like they're just farting on it. Another little gudgeon there. They are cool looking fish, aren't they? Slipping back, number 10, have it. Happy now. Can go home well and truly thinking, yeah, that was an alright day. But I mean, to be fair, we're still only going on how poorly it's fished here throughout the season, aren't we? It's just nice to know that we can catch stuff still as the weather's getting a bit colder, you know. It does seem to be an awful lot more gudgeon. 4, that is more now. That, in fact, that's twice as many gudgeon I've caught today than I have in the entire series. So this smaller rig definitely works on the gudgeons, but they all count, don't they? We got something here. Like I say, it's hard to tell, mate. Oh yes, and look who it is. Another gudgeon. It's absolutely loaded with them. You've seen these guys by now, I'm sure. Away he goes. The 5th gudgeon of the day. I still would rather catch them than bleak all day long, mate. They just make you smile. It's just a shame they don't grow to £35. Might have to adjust the old starlight. It's gone on a bit of a sideways trajectory. Oh, I'm gonna definitely have to sort it out. 90 degrees. Get round there. Probably got a gudgeon on there now. It's proving to be that the bites are not as consistent as the daytime, on the feeder rod anyway. I think that we probably will go back down to the main flow of the river. There's a spot round there, like I say, where I've heard rumours of carp and barbel, big chub, big bream as well. And we'll have a proper good old session again with the bigger rod out on some boilies. Probably going to do like a similar method to what I'm doing here with the feeder rod. I won't go out there and literally smash the entire swim out with feed and chuck a kilo of boilie out there. I'll probably stick to, I think we've got something on here actually. don't know though, it's so hard to tell, mate. It's probably a gudgeon if there is something. Yeah, it is a gudgeon, look. Yeah, I will probably maybe just go with some small PVA bags, just a little tiny amount of boilies, maybe, you know, 5 or 6 boilies in the PVA bag, a little bit of ground bait, plenty of glug to make it nice and smelly, and see what we get. But there we go, there's our 6th gudgeon. I think it's 6 now. I'm almost losing count of how many gudgeon we've caught today. The 6th gudgeon of the day, and that, my friends, is going to be the last fish of the day. We've been out here don't know how many hours, to be honest with you, way past 8 hours, I'll tell you that much. And it's been okay. Yes, a lot of gudgeon, but we haven't blanked. We had a half decent perch, which was absolutely welcomed beyond belief after the lack of perch that we've been getting recently. And the fact that we've seems to have found a method that works well enough to be able to hook into fish, whether they're gudgeon, small chub, and the odd perch. I really don't care as long as I'm getting my hands wet, to be honest with you. And that has really lightened my mood in going forward through the rest of autumn and winter. The pike rod, unfortunately, didn't get anything for us today, did it? And like I said, I wasn't expecting it to anyway, with the flow being the way it was. But next time, I hope you join us when we'll be down on the main flow, chucking some boilies out in hope to get ourselves a nice big fat juicy barbel, maybe even the impossible, and get an autumn carp out of there, who knows. But again, I'll be back on the feeder rod out there anyway, but it would be nice if I could test out the scope rod and hook into something that will pull back. So you know the score by now, guys. I be Mark Payne, this be Taking on the Thames, and it was a hell of a lot kinder to us today than it has been the last few trips that we've been here. So till the next time, I will see you later.